Hi-yo, Silver!
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger. Before this exciting adventure, a word from our sponsor.
Hello, boys and girls. This is the Lone Ranger. Tonto and I want you to have for your very own the official Lone Ranger secret code ring. Be the first on your block to have one. All you have to do is ask your mother to pick up a loaf of that delicious and wholesome Merita bread. It's fortified to build strong bones and muscle in growing kids. Then send in the label, along with your address to the Lone Ranger, in care of this station, and ask for your secret code ring. And remember, never take off the mask.
With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again. Early one morning, the Lone Ranger's friend Tonto rode into the town of Tobacco Ridge to buy supplies. When he returned to the masked man's camp, he reported,
"There's plenty of excitement in town, Kemosabe.
Oh?
Crooks that robbed bank last night."
Have Boris Barkov and Elk been in town?
Them the fellows that try to rob bank.
Are you sure, Tonto?
Watchman get good look at crooks in lantern light, and me have description him give. Him say one fellow speaks strange tongue.
Sounds like Boris, all right. Were they captured?
No, they get away.
Possibly heading west.
That right.
Leave the provisions you've brought in your saddlebags, and we'll start after those two.
While me in town, Kemosabe, me follow crooks' tracks. Me show you where we pick up trail outside town.
Fine.
One fellow ride horse with worn shoe.
All right, let's go, Tonto. Easy, Silver. Come on, Silver.
Come on, Scout.
By taking a roundabout route through the hills, the masked man and Tonto avoided riding through Tobacco Ridge in order to reach the western side of town. There they drew rein.
Whoa, Silver. Whoa, big fella.
Easy, Scout. Easy. Here track, Kemosabe. Just like trail we lost yesterday.
Yes, you're right, Tonto.
Easy, Scout. Easy, fellows. Now we're plenty close to 'em.
They're very clever at hiding their tracks.
That right. We already lose trail once.
We'll try not to lose it again. Come on, Silver.
Come on, Scout.
More than a half-day's journey ahead of the Lone Ranger and Tonto, Boris and Elk slow their horses to a walk to rest the animals.
Brrr, Tisha.
Yeah, when I saw the light in the bank, I told you we wouldn't have a chance.
How would I know a watchman was on duty inside?
And I'll bet $20 that critter got a good look at us, too.
Ah, shut up, will you?
You and your smart ideas.
We're not in jail yet.
We'll never reach the border if you try any more loco moves.
We need cash, Elk, and I think I know where we can get it.
Well, if you're thinking of trying another bank robbery.
I'm thinking of a low shark I know in town of Muleshoe,
Where's that?
beyond the town of Amity.
Amiti's ahead of us.
Muleshoe west of it. It's a rich cattle town.
Who's your friend?
A lawyer named Hector Moses.
Well, if he's on the level, how'd you get to know him?
He is no more honest than we are. Fact is, he left the East to get away from murder charges.
What's he doing in Muleshoe?
Practicing law as far as I know. He might know how we can get a hold of some easy money fast.
Well, if he does, he'd said it himself instead of telling us about it.
Yeah, not Hector. He's got to act like he's honest. But there's nothing to keep us from pulling a quick robbery and clearing out of town.
Well, I want to stop long enough in the next town to get my gear fixed and replace this critter's left front shoe.
What's wrong with your gear?
That stirrup leather needs replacing.
Aye. Well, we get a meal while we're being fixed.
Well, that suits me.
Come on, giddy up here. Bye-bye.
In the town of Amity, the killer stopped at a saddle shop where a kindly redhead named Pete Jones worked. Leaving their horses with him, Boris and Elk went to the restaurant directly across from the shop. A short time later, Boris looked up from the plate of stew he was eating.
Elk, look.
Hmm.
Look who's just drew in rein at the saddle shop.
That dude's no one I know.
At the Hector Moses.
Oh, yeah? Well, and what's he doing here?
I don't know, but I'll find out. I'll be back in a minute.
A few minutes later, Boris returned to the restaurant with Hector Moses.
Meet my pal Elk.
Well, how do you do?
Howdy.
Sit down, Hector.
Thank you. I have a problem, Boris. Meeting you should help me solve it.
Oh, what's the problem?
Well, a healthy client of mine died a few weeks ago, Boris. You may have heard of John Perry.
Yep.
Who's John Perry?
He owned the Cloverleaf Ranch, one of the richest spreads in this part of the country.
Uh-huh.
John left a brother named Clem.
He inherits the ranch, huh?
Well, part of it. The rest of it goes to John's son, Pete. Now, the trouble is that Pete and his mother were in a wagon train ambushed by redskins 25 years ago. Pete's mother was found dead, and so were the rest of the travelers.
What about the boy?
His body was never found. John Perry died believing his son is still alive.
Uh-huh.
Now, Clem Perry is downright anxious to find this young man who would be in his 20s by now. Clem is unmarried and hopes that his nephew will carry on the Cloverleaf after he's gone.
How can he carry it on if no one knows where he is?
I'm supposed to locate the young man.
That's some job.
Yes, but I stand to collect a mighty handsome fee if I succeed.
Earning it won't be easy.
I have 3 months to find the fellow. If I don't find him, the entire state will go to Clem. But if you and Elk will cooperate, my job will be easier.
Ah, what do you mean?
That young redhead across the street is the same age as Pete Perry would be if he were alive. He looks very much like John Perry.
Uh-huh.
I've learned he's an orphan. Some think he was traumatized in early life causing a speech impediment. He works for his room and board in the saddle shop, and he knows nothing about his past.
What about it?
I may be able to pawn him off to Clem as the real Pete Perry.
Oh, so that's your scheme.
Yes, old man Clem won't know the difference. I don't think I'll have any trouble selling him the idea that youngster is his nephew.
What about selling the kid the idea?
That's where you two come in.
Mm-hmm.
As a reputable lawyer, I can't talk to the youngster into doing anything shady, but you can.
Me?
Yes, you and Elk talk to the fellow, persuade him to go along with the masquerade, and I'll make it worth your while.
How worthwhile?
I'll pay you $500.
For a swindle like that? Not on your life.
Huh?
Split your fee with us or forget the deal.
My fee?
And that's not all.
But what do you mean?
The kid stands to inherit a big ranch when his uncle dies, doesn't he?
Well, yes.
If we work this right, we can cut ourselves in for a share of the cloverleaf.
How do you figure that?
The kid will not want anyone to know he is not Pete Perry once he inherits the ranch.
Is that so?
By threatening to tell what we know, we'll have him right where we want him. We may end up living like cattle kings, huh, Hector?
Well, we may, if you talk him into going along with the idea.
You leave that to Elk and me.
Now look, I want to be in the clear in case this boy makes trouble.
Don't worry.
What about us?
You've got nothing to lose. You're probably darting the law as it is.
Don't get any ideas about turning us in, Hector.
You know better than that, Boris.
I know you're a killer.
The law here knows nothing about that murder.
I know about it. And I'll talk if you try to double-cross.
You misunderstood me. I just want to be sure I'm covered when you talk to the boy. Leave me out of the deal until he agrees to pose as Pete Perry. Just be aware, he's a bright fellow and nobody's fool, but a little slow in speech. Just be patient with him and you'll do fine.
Oh, I savvy. Come on, Elk. We'll go talk to the kid.
The Lone Ranger is brought to you by your local Philco radio dealer. The name Philco has been a household word since 1928, a trusted name in radio. Visit your Philco radio showroom where you'll find a complete line of 1944 Philco radio receivers. Go by today. You've never heard the Lone Ranger as you will on your new Philco.
Now to continue. Pete Jones listened thoughtfully to the proposition Boris and Elk unfolded.
It's a great chance for an orphan like you, Pete. Clem Perry's an old man. When he dies, you'll inherit the Cloverleaf Ranch.
Well, I like living on the ranch first rate, but I just don't want to go there unless Mr. Perry knows the truth.
Oh, and you'll be doing a lonesome old man a favor by going to the ranch and posing as his nephew.
Ride to Missisng with us and you'll be putting yourself in for a fine inheritance.
It's a chance of a lifetime for a fella like you. You're a fool if you pass this up.
Without realizing how it happened, the red-headed orphan agreed to the plan the two killers outlined so glibly. Then Boris signaled Hector, who was waiting in the restaurant. He joined the group.
It's all set, Hector. The youngster's going to Missisng with us.
Well, glad to hear it. You'll not regret your decision, young man.
I hope not.
Well, let's get going.
When they reached Missisng, Boris and Elk went to Hector Moses' office while the scheming lawyer took Pete to the Cloverleaf Ranch. Boris lit the lamp in the office. It was almost midnight before Hector returned.
Well, here's Hector now.
Yep.
Well, boys, it's all set.
How'd things go at the ranch?
Just fine. Clem welcomed Pete with open arms.
Did he suspect anything was wrong?
Nope. In fact, he's so pleased he promised me a special fee for finding his long-lost nephew.
Haha, хорошо, very good.
Oh, by the way, I told him I met two down-and-out young cowpokes who needed jobs.
Cowpokes?
Yes, meaning you two.
Yeah.
He's short-handed right now, so he told me to send you right down. You can bunk at the ranch tonight and go to work in the morning.
Work?
It'll be a first-rate hideout for you.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want either one of you seen around my office, so get going. The ranch is 45 minutes from town. Now, Clem said you should stop at the ranch house to see him before you head to the bunkhouse.
A short time after Boris and Elk left town, the Lone Ranger drew rein in the moonlit darkness near the scheming lawyer's lighted office.
Whoa, Scout. Kimasabi,
Yes,
tracks show crooks go into office. Come out. Right away.
someone's still in the office.
That sign and window.
Let me see. Hector Moses, attorney at law.
Why crooks there?
Moses may not have known they're killers.
Oh,
Over here, Tonto. Easy, steady, big fella. I want to ask him a few questions about those two. Wait outside.
Oh, who can that be? Now listen, if you come here to...
Are you Hector Moses?
Yes, but
Don't be alarmed by my mask.
if you're here to solicit my services as an attorney...
I am here for information. May I step inside?
Now hold on, mister.
I'll not detain you long.
This is highly irregular.
A couple of killers named Elk Heber and Boris Barkov were here ahead of me.
Now, how did you know that?
Tonto and I have been following them for over a week.
Tonto?
Yes, my Indian friend.
During the 20 years I've spent in the West, I've heard a lot about a masked man who travels with an Indian named Tonto.
In that case, you know my mask doesn't mean I'm an outlaw.
Now, you're the Lone Ranger.
That's right. What's wrong?
Well, nothing, sir. It's just that I never expected the pleasure of meeting you. I'm surprised and honored.
Hector Moses' mealy-mouthed flattery belied the panic in his heart. Having guessed his caller's identity, he knew Elk and Boris were sure to be captured. He knew, too, that when they were behind bars, they would tell the law that Hector Moses was also wanted for murder. Thinking of the derringer in his desk drawer, Hector tried to think of a way to draw it and to take the masked man by surprise.
Of course, I didn't know they were wanted by the law. When they asked me for directions, I gave them the information they wanted. I'll draw a map and show you exactly the route I told them they'll travel.
On the pretense of reaching for a pencil and paper, Hector opened the desk drawer, grasped the derringer, and said,
All right. Freeze, mister.
What's the idea?
Surprised you, eh?
Yes, why the gun?
You're not going after Boris and Elk.
No?
You're through hunting outlaws.
You're going to kill me?
That's right.
How do you expect to get away with it?
I'll tell the sheriff that you broke into my office and I shot you in self-defense.
You may not have a chance to tell that story.
Huh?
I didn't come here alone. My Indian friend Tonto is outside the window.
Well, that's impossible.
Hector turned for a moment to cover the window.
Come here, you.
In that split second, the masked man stripped his arm.
Oh, hey, let go of me.
Drop the gun.
Oh,
Drop it or I'll break your arm.
All right.
I said drop that gun.
all right, all right.
That's better.
Oh.
Kemosabe, me hear cry.
Come in, Tonto.
What happened?
Hector Moses is trying to protect Boris and Elk.
I had to do it.
You were willing to kill me.
I didn't want to kill you.
Tie and gag him, Tonto.
Oh, no.
I'll leave you here to guard him while I follow Boris and Elk.
Following the directions Hector had given them, Elk and Boris had ridden directly to the Cloverleaf ranch house. Clem and Pete were in the kitchen, where Pete was eating cold turkey sandwiches and milk. Standing inside the kitchen door with his hat in his hand, Elk explained.
Well, the rest of the house was dark, so we came to the back door, Mr. Perry.
Well, I'm glad you did. Come in and help yourself to some grub if you're hungry.
Well, thanks, Mr. Perry. We are kind of hungry.
Hey, it looks to me like you're enjoying a first-rate spread, Pete.
I've eaten as much turkey as I can hold, Elk.
This is the happiest day of my life, Bug-Dad Rabbit. I sure wish my brother could have lived to see it.
Well, after Mr. Moses left, I found out I really am Pete Perry.
What's that?
That's right. There's no mistake about it.
You are sure of that, huh?
Dead sure. Pete was born in this house some 22 years ago. When he was 3, him and his mother started east so they could visit her folks.
Hector Moses said the wagon train was ambushed.
It was, but I never believed that my Pete was killed, and now that I've seen the birthmark on Pete's arm, I know he's my nephew, and now we know it was trauma of the ambush that caused his speech problem.
Birthmark?
That's right. Pete has a cloverleaf birthmark on his right upper arm.
Well, I'll be.
When he was 3 days old, his daddy changed the brand of this spread from JP to Cloverleaf. It's been that way ever since, and the brand's just like the mark on Pete's arm. His daddy had it done that way. Roll up your sleeve, Pete, and show him the mark.
Sure. There it is.
That's your identification.
Does Hector know about this?
That scheming shyster, Pete told me how he planned to fool me by getting someone to pose as my nephew. It's a mighty good thing I never told him about the birthmark.
So you told him all about the plan, Pete?
Sure I did.
Why you?
Hey, what's the idea of the gun?
Don't try to reaching for yours. We can't get away with it now, but we can take whatever money around here and clear out. Take the old man's gun, Elk.
Don't try it.
Hey, look at the window. The masked man.
Get him!
As Boris whirled around to fire, a silver bullet smashed his gun.
Ow!
Seconds later, another bullet grazed Elk's hand. The killer dropped the weapon he had drawn. Clem Perry snatched his gun from its holster and covered the disarmed outlaws. Make a move, and you'll stop living.
Keep him covered while I come inside.
I'll do that. I'll do that, mister. Okay, you two, don't move. I'll shoot. Where in the world did you come from, mister?
I've been following these fellows for a week, Clem. Their trail led to your kitchen door.
Why, do you know this masked man, Uncle Clem?
You're mighty right, I do, Pete. He and his Indian pal helped your daddy and me round up some rustlers who was stealing our stock some few years ago.
I was sorry to learn of your brother's death.
Well, I lost my brother, but I found my nephew. Meet Pete, mister.
How are you, Pete?
Well, I'm fine now, but Boris and Elk had me plenty worried for a minute.
According to my nephew, they're mixed up in a scheme with Hector Moses.
Tonto's with Hector Moses now.
If that double-dealing lawyer squealed on us.
He didn't have to. I know your record.
He is as bad as we are.
What do you mean?
That skunk wanted for 20-year-old murder in Chicago.
If that's the case, he'll pay for his crime. Now how about tying up their hands for the trip to town, Clem?
After the Lone Ranger left with the prisoners, he planned to turn over to the sheriff in town. Pete shook his head.
Doggone it. I don't understand it.
You don't understand what, Pete?
Well, a masked man helping to round up rustlers, catching Boris and Elk like that.
You're not the first person to question that mask, Pete, and you won't be the last.
Why does he wear it?
Because he's the Lone Ranger.
Hi-yo, Silver! Away! Boys and girls, remember, send in that Merita bread label and ask for your official Lone Ranger secret code ring. And remember, boys and girls, never take off the mask.
The Lone Ranger was played by Jim Moss, with Chuck Nolan as Tonto, Alex Efemingo as Boris Barkov, John Moss as Elk, Arlen Moore as Hector Moses, your announcer, Bolin Andrews.